Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I am a trained remote viewer. As I've said in my introduction, always all my psychic skills have been trained, honed, statistically analyzed, followed, and controlled. To the best of my ability, I try to be a free person and deliver the information I get via these psychic skills. But I have to tell you, it's like running a gauntlet. Many people don't know what a gauntlet is. Gauntlet is when the white men came from the east and went to the west and were taking over Indian land that they said didn't belong to anybody. When the Indians would capture them, sometimes they would form a gauntlet, which was two lines of people, and then the white guy had to run in the middle, and the two lines of Indians would be beating up on them and tripping them. And if they made it to the end, then they would be allowed to live. And if not, well, they'd probably be dead by then. I have been living in a gauntlet, and I continue to live in a gauntlet, trying to get information to people so that their lives can be better. With no help from nice people, I have to tell you. I am reaching the conclusion that nice people are a bigger problem than openly bad people. And I'm not going to discuss why I'm saying that today, but for me, it was a shock in the 90s when I started to talk about my life and how I had been born into a secret program and it was abusive and torture and rape and starvation and all sorts of things for manipulation of my mind and manipulation of me, threat to my children once I had children. And I had expected for the nice people to receive me with open arms. They didn't. They went from thinking I was the most honest person they'd ever met because most people said that about me. And I suspect they're going to be saying it again very soon. They went from that to thinking that for some reason I started to make up all these stories. That continues today to the extent that I have been accused of being mentally ill. Very interesting because I've worked with very prominent people in South Florida having to do with therapists, and I went to the number one specialist in military mind control in the Americas, and I was diagnosed as having dissociative disorder, which is not considered mental illness. It's considered to be a reaction to extreme trauma. And yet, people who have children that are very depressed, which means that they are classified as mentally ill today, they have the gall to continue to say that I am mentally ill. There's a very big issue having to do with emotions, which is what I'm going to talk about today. And I started with my own situation, but throughout history, it has been known that people that are mentally ill are people that are invaded by spirits. Throughout history, it is only today that we have this book, DSM-5 or whatever, that is reviewed every I don't know how many years, and they reclassify. Basically, they've classified all of our children as mentally ill. Now, this is done by therapists and psychologists who don't know the definition of the word emotion. This is by psychologists that don't believe in spirits. And they are going to define what mental illness is. That we're in deep trouble. And then they turn you over to pharmaceuticals, which gives medication that does open the door to more spirits. And then they have to put you half asleep to where the spirits aren't bothering you because you're asleep. I never took one single psychiatric pill. Not a single one. Not when I was young, not since the 90s. I spent tens of thousands of dollars on therapy. Psychologists once a week. At one point, I was going to 3 different psychologists every week. And the diagnosis was always the same, and there was no question. Dissociative disease due to extreme trauma. Thank you, US government, because it was them that directed it. So we have mental illness that is poorly diagnosed, and what throughout human history has been understood as the cause of mental illness being completely ignored in modern medicine. And we have, what is the percentage of people today in the United States that is diagnosed as mentally ill? I think it's like 40%. You cannot run a country like that. Which brings me to the issue of emotions and today, post election. And who's ever typing to take down what I am saying to give to your boss, good. Let all the important people on the planet know what it is that I have to say. They all follow me anyway. At the same time, the regular public, normal people are thinking she's a little bit nuts. Mm. Post election, by the way, the person that's typing, you need to close your microphone. We don't want to hear you. We already know we're being followed. So stop that because it's very irritating. I'm going to send you a bill. Okay. Today, post election, we have an entire group, we have several groups that basically are going to fall into mental illness if there is not some relief done. And today, again, I am going to start to put up on X and on the other social media outlets the mantrista music with a mantra on top of it for hours, which, by the way, YouTube always takes down in my English YouTube, not my Spanish. You Americans are not allowed to have access to the information I have. Your people don't want you to have this information. They'll let the Hispanics have it. Not in English. You need to look into that. They're keeping you dumb. I'm very angry today. Anyway, we have groups that are going to become mentally ill. And we can start with the people that lost the election. It is a little bit frightening to see, and maybe it's just a few people and it's getting a lot of play because it's so shocking. The women cutting all their hair off and saying they're not going to have sex again because Trump won. Not good. But obviously, there's a lot of people. Well, actually, not that many people because Trump won in a big way. So that's good. Let me remind myself that there's good stuff happening. But there's too many people that very intensely feel that their life is over, that they're less safe. And that creates cracks in their aura called portals, and then the spirits come in. So then their stuff becomes even more extreme. So we need to look at what we're going to do about that because we can do something about that. The same way you can have a baby surrogate, you can do mantras and purifications surrogate. That's what prayer is all about. When you pray for somebody who's in another city in a hospital dying, you're not there. You didn't even ask for permission, which a lot of these new age people, well, do we have permission to give a healing to this person? They're on their deathbed. Give me a break. Come on. So we have things that we can do, and we have got to do them now. So we have a whole group of losers. They lost the election, but man, some of them are behaving like real losers. Give me a break. Okay, give me a break. Their issue started from before politics and the elections. Then you have the people that won, some of whom are on too much of a high. Okay, what we all know is that balance is a center. When you go too high in emotions, there is no issue, there's no question it's going to happen. You're going to fall as low as you were high. That's why you need to be in the center and balanced. Because if you're over enthusiastic, we all know the person who's over enthusiastic, such as that poor comedian, Robin Williams. He was massively depressed. He was over enthusiastic. That's what over enthusiasm is covering. So we can't have that either. But that's okay. You guys are going to end up saying, you want us to all be Buddhist. No, I don't want you to be Buddhist. I'm not a Buddhist. But we can learn a lot from Buddhism, which is not a religion, by the way. The same way we should learn everything that Jesus Christ lived, not what we are told he said, whatever he wanted. No. When we talk about disinformation, we have to talk about Jesus Christ because wow, did they do a job on him. Okay, continuing. All immigrants, panic attacks. I was an immigrant twice, an illegal immigrant twice. I have a crazy history, but I'm totally legal. I even have a passport. I can't go to the corner. I can't catch a plane, but I have a passport. So I'm okay now. I don't have that problem. But I live in Miami. I know a lot of illegals. So if I'm near them, as I have said before, their panic is going to land on me, or me just connecting with them, feeling bad for them, that's going to land on me. Because when you think of somebody or connect with them, you don't even need to connect with them emotionally. You just think of them. A vector juts out from you to that person. You're touching their aura, you're touching their astral emotional body, and you are creating a transference of that energy to you. So anybody that knows illegal aliens, and I'm not sure that there's anybody in the United States that doesn't, you are going to be more susceptible to panic attacks and to a tremendous level of fear. Fear is what most opens us to spirit invasion, which is what throughout the centuries, except in modern medicine, which is only 600 years old, spirits are invading spirits are what cause mental illness. So we're all going to be subjected to this. Is going to be a dark night of the soul that is preventable. It's preventable. That's what I'm here for. To try to deliver information that was not acquired easily so that we can prevent this and create what we want to create and not just react with overenthusiasm or with hate. Okay, government employees. If you have somebody who's a perfectionist and does their job really, really well in the government, they're still going to be frightened because perfectionists always think that they could have done better. Trump is going to come in. Oh my God, they're going to think I didn't do a good enough job. People that need their job desperately are going to be, oh my God, maybe they'll make a mistake and say, I'm not doing well enough and I'm going to get fired. And then all of the people that really didn't do great jobs because they knew their job was secure or because they stopped really trying 10 years ago, whatever. That's another, what, several million? And then we have all the people that used to hold power in this country and don't hold it anymore. Not sure, is there anybody that we can leave out of this that would be untouched by a high level of emotions, which is what creates break in our aura, which is what allows spirits in, which throughout history, it has been known that spirit invasion is the basis for mental illness. So I am thrilled that Trump won. I am beyond thrilled. I actually, my life would have basically been over if he hadn't won, because at the end I was doing an awful lot of talking of stuff I'm not allowed to say. Can you believe this? I'm going to just say one thing. I'm going to say it. There are people that think that my handler was my lover. Uh, Hello, whatever your handler wants, if you have kids, you're going to do. It's like insulting. And what's even more insulting is that bright people, in Spanish is no tienen dos dedos de frente. They don't have 2 inches of forehead, which is where your wisdom is, which is where your third eye is, which is what fluoride kills. I have this woman who my handler said, oh, Frances is just in love with me. What? I have been begging everybody to get that man off my back, and people actually believe that. Oh my God. How do we fix this? I don't know. But it is an example. My life is an example of how out of control things can be if you happen to be controlled by the bad guys where there's been no supervision. Oh, and then we got all those guys. who basically know that their freedom and their life is on the line because they did so much and they didn't even bother covering their trail because they were going to get away with it. Those people, them alone can knock the knees out from under this society because of their level of fear. Where are they going to go? I don't know where they're going to go. I have no idea. So we have a country that when I sketch it, I don't remember the last time I sketched it, it looked pretty good because we have been doing a lot of purifications. We've done it here on this podcast chat, News from Other Dimensions, and the Mantrista group has been doing a lot of purifications, not just when we get together. We're always icing down the country like the ice bucket challenge, but in the other dimensions, which is where the elements are. So if you put ice on a map of the United States, you reduce the fire element, which means you reduce the anger and the violence. You reduce a tendency towards suicide and towards killing. I finally figured it out because I couldn't understand how it's possible that an excess of the fire element at its extreme creates murder. People murder, they kill. And then after that comes suicide. Well, what the hell does suicide have to do with murder? Very simple. Murder is excess fire directed out and you kill someone. And suicide is excess fire directed internally and you kill yourself. It took me 10 years to figure that out because it didn't seem to jive, but it makes total sense. In the other dimensions, things make a lot of sense. In the physical dimension, there's so many holes left in all the stories in all of our lives that it's really kind of weird that people have not demanded more from the psychological and therapeutic community. But the psychologists are all so controlled in their emotions, and they're so nice, and they're so centered. No, they're not. We all know that they're neurotic. That's why they got into psychology. They learned to control it. Okay, what's the definition of emotion? Emotion means to move out, to emote. And what do our psychologists and psychiatrists do? More psychologists and psychiatrists. They control their emotions. And you cannot have a crying fit in their offices. They don't like that. Meanwhile, when in the Mantrista movement, if people have a total breakdown of tears, it's like, that's a wonderful purification because that is what it is. Back to what are we going to do about this? Well, I'm going to start putting the Mantrista movement music therapy videos on my social media. And you should also do it. And we have the Medusas with the map of the United States. And we have the one that reduces the fire called Agni, which means fire in Hinduism, that has a map of the world. And you can play that several hours a day. And it also, at the same time, you're reducing the fire in this country if you use the Medusa video, or in the entire planet if you do the Agni one that has planet Earth on it. You are also reducing and clearing your environment, which we need to do because you cannot have this many people emotionally doing the wrong thing having to do with being mentally healthy. The reason I learned about the mantras is because I was doing therapy. It was $150 an hour. This was in the 90s. And I was doing sometimes three separate therapists a week. Okay. And I realized, wait a second, this is like the slow boat to China, because they said you had to process every trauma, you had to process it. At that point, it was 50 some years of trauma. I can't count the number of times I was sexually abused or tortured or witnessed god awful things done to other people. So I said, this doesn't work. So I said to God, listen, we need something efficient here. Okay, work. People don't have this kind of money. And they don't have this kind of time. And this doesn't seem like it's really working anyway. It's too slow. And I got the mantras. And mantras have existed forever. But the mantras that I have are very point specific because the mantras that most of us know that are wonderful are for your spiritual development. You know what, guys? I want your daily life to be better. I don't want the United States. At this point, I'm not investing my time in the United States being spiritually developed. I want it to be mentally and emotionally healthy. And then everybody should choose what they want to do after that. They want spiritual development, fine. They probably may, I don't know. I want emotional and mental stability so that we all can exercise our free will. So we are going to, you know what, I think I'm going to, even though I'm so irritated at the stuff that has been happening behind my back, that if people had simply asked me, I could have filled in the blanks, which, by the way, I'm going to say to all of you. My email is francis@francisfox.com. If you have an objection or you have a big question mark, go ahead and ask me. Before I confessed that I was in this secret program and I was trying to get out of it, everybody said the same thing, that I was dreadfully honest, to the point where my daughter and a good friend of mine would say to people, don't ask Francis a question unless you're willing to get the real answer, because she does not sugarcoat. And I didn't. I would say what was true and I continued to do it. The problem is that the truth was too difficult. But anyway, if you have something, don't ask me about your love life or whatever. I'm talking about what we're talking about now. If you have an issue that something doesn't quite jive having to do with me, please feel free to ask. Not during the chat, because I don't think it would be right to deviate everybody else's time. But you're more than welcome to ask. I wish that my family had done that. I think people that have loved me have suffered terribly, believing, by the way, what was set up for them to believe so that I could be taken down and put back under control with my lover, who was my blankety blank handler. Now, I'd like for all of you that are willing, if your handler says to you, I want some sex now, I'd like to see how many of you are going to stand up and say, no, I don't think so. You have kids? I don't think so. How many of you would have been willing to let that person know how much you hated their guts? How many of you? I don't think so. Not to your advantage. You need to keep this person happy. So people, and I say it all the time, forget me. People need to ask questions. They need to say things. What is this secrecy about? Why aren't you asking your kids more questions? And why aren't you allowing your kids to ask you questions and answer them honestly? The truth is the only thing that gets left standing. What are we doing? Why are we doing all this lying? Who are we? I know it's spirit influence. Everything negative is spirit influence. But how did they let us do this? How did we get here? So from this day forth, remember my words. The only thing that's going to be left standing is truth. It's not a good guy, bad guy thing. It's not a positioning of yourself or being ashamed. You know what? The only thing being left standing is the truth. And it doesn't mean you have to put it in the newspaper. Okay, I'm going to do the map of the United States. And I'm sorry if I made this too much about me, but you know what? I have had a rude awakening in relation to the people around me. And I'm going to say again, the nice people are maybe a bigger problem than the bad guys. Okay. We have a lot of craziness around the Washington, D.C. area. I don't know which of these is Colorado, but there's a lot of craziness going on in Colorado. I got the words Colorado. I should have just done the map. And okay. Florida, there's a funny issue in Florida. Somebody is trying to figure out how to take down Florida. How do they take down Florida? I think there's a group of people whose full-time job is how to take down Florida. Now, why would that be? Well, we got the home of Trump. Elon Musk is spending a ton of time. I'm here in Florida, Miami, ton of time here. DeSantis has looked really good since he really embraced his position in the state rather than the campaigning for something that maybe it was not quite his time for. So, full-time job to take down Florida. And how can you take down a whole state? Weather modification? I If I had known what was going to come out of my mouth, I would not have said it. I'm not supposed to talk about that stuff. I never said that. Got it? I never said that. Full-time job, a group of people trying to figure out how to take down Florida. Got it? I don't know why I'm saying this, but Canada is gone. I don't think that's real important right now. At least for me, it's not. Canada's gone. In other words, I think that they're like all over the place to where they're not really an influence, negative or positive. They're just gone. The United States is very rooted. These are roots. Very rooted. Oh, I think I can feel that I pushed someone's button having to do with weather modification. Somebody, okay, so if I don't wake up tomorrow, you can know it had to do with revelations. Yeah, why did Frances die? How come she died? Revelations. By the way, my ex-lover, my handler, was here this weekend, not in my apartment. I could perceive him close by. He is using psychotronic weapons against me to burn my mind so that I won't be coherent. And I don't know where he is today. I suspect he might have been yesterday in Grove Isle. This is the person whose daughter said she was going to sue me. And I said, she's going to sue me in court? I'm going to have to stand up in court and say that my handler, okay, won't let me go. Come on. Anyway, today I could feel somebody with some kind of a gun, not a gun, like a rifle, honed at me. I'm a psychic. I feel a lot of things. If an ant is neurotic on the windowsill, I can feel it. So, and I can feel when people are focused on me. I remember calling a friend of mine at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, which you just don't do because people at work, they want to stay in bed. And I said, what are you doing? No, it was not 8, it was 7 in the morning. And she said, nothing. I said, yeah, you are. Well, I got up early. And I said, what are you doing? And what are you thinking? Don't do it. She said, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, you know what I'm talking about. Don't do it. Go take a walk. Okay. How did you know? So she wasn't even thinking, or maybe she was thinking of me, but I don't think she was. I think she was just into her own thoughts about killing herself. So I pick up everything. So when I say that I can feel a rifle honed at me, it's because there is a rifle pointed at me, and it is the intention or the focus of the person holding it that I am feeling. So my handler, by the way, it turns out, because I couldn't figure out what was this big struggle with him. Let me go. Let it go. Turns out he's broke and he made a ton of money off of me. One of the things I did for him, which I didn't remember because they erased your memory, I was reading consulting. He was getting consulting contracts from mines in Venezuela. And I was the one that was delivering the information because he can't do it. And he was charging tens of thousands of dollars. He sold the contract when I said, listen, go ahead. Why don't we go ahead and just kill me and get it over with? I'm not doing this anymore. I screamed bloody murder. I asked for help. I got help from 0 people. So it turned out that the guy's broke. You know how they do those? I'm going to just keep talking. You know how they do those? They talk to you about the sex trafficking and how one child can produce several $100,000 a year for the pimp or the family that's controlling this child and pimping her out. I cannot imagine what this man earned with me because of the level of skills that I acquired under the government program. I cannot imagine. So he's been really desperate. Now he's also angry. Really angry. I got away. I'm in the United States. This is supposed to be a free country. What the hell are we talking about here? How can this happen here? because of nice people. By the way, nice people, they don't really believe the story. They don't really believe the story. In retrospect, they will. Now they're starting to believe because the guy has gone completely out of control, including with his family, where he said, "Oh no, she's just in love with me." And they went, "Yeah, sure. She's just in love with you and she's screaming bloody murder for you to let her go. She has photographs of you in front of her apartment." So, oh dear, I have said a lot. Well, this is Revelations in case they take me out tonight, but we're not sure they're going to take me out because of my handler, who's completely lost it, or because I reveal something about Florida. Let's go ahead and do a mantra for the United States. But all this rooting, by the way, that I've sketched here, all this rooting is really, 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 really good. Because in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, before the disinformation of the translation, because that is disinformation, I am not going to believe that that was just a poor translation. That was done on purpose. Where it says, "deliver us from evil," that is not what the Lord's Prayer said in Aramaic. It says, "help us to be in the present," which means what Eric Tolle talks about all the time: grounded, landed. Enough of your consciousness on the physical dimension inside your physical body. And now I'm remembering, and I am very ADD, that's okay. The dolphins told me that every disease you have is actually a state of zombie. And I went, how is that? They said, when a zombie is a person who doesn't have their consciousness in their physical body. And so when a spirit comes in, takes over. And it's, yes, their physical body, but it's not them. Zombie disease, cancer is a zombie state. What are we talking about? We're talking about the fact that your consciousness left that organ or that part of your body. For whatever reason, we're not going to get into that now, but your consciousness left. You left it empty. Spirits came in. Oh, but we don't believe in spirits in the last 600 years. We do not do that. But you do believe in Jesus Christ, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ah, yeah. What was the first thing you did when people were sick? Cast out spirits. Well, why aren't we doing it? Because people that work with the spirits work with the devil. People don't accuse me of that anymore. So in the Lord's Prayer, it says, it doesn't say deliver us from evil. It says, help us to be in the present, landed, grounded. These green wavy lines are rooting. The United States is rooting. So we just have to get through this stage, and we have to handle the emotional reaction, including of the good guys, to this incredible event that happened, to where the potential history of the planet changed. And the day that it changed was the day that they shot Trump in the ear, and he stood up, lifted his fist, and did not stay down. That day, the history of the planet changed. And it's not that I'm in love with Trump. I'm in love with effective people, and people that are honest, and people that are not liars when they speak. Even if they say something god awful, they actually believe that. I respect that a lot more than these really nice people that I'm coming to conclude that these nice people are dangerous to us. Nice people are dangerous. What is that all about? Not good. So we're going to do the mantra, and then I'm going to figure out how I'm going to release the rest of my rage at the stuff that I'm finding out about now. And okay, so the mantra, give me a second while I think about what the mantra is. The mantra. Okay, I got it. It's relatively easy. See how many mistakes I made. I think I didn't make a single one. Please, God, help us with our intention to miraculously harmonize emotions in the United States. And I'm going to do the trilling mantrista music. Trilling is the frequency of the mind strings. Like these are strings. These are strings that are all a mess. They channel the human mind. The human mind is a nectar, it's a liquid, and it's channeled through mind strings. And that's the basis for string theory. And here we go again. Do you think that the scientists at those Ivy League universities are going to listen to what we have to say about strings? No, because they're arrogant and they're authority. Well, I got a university degree also. And I discovered it because I can remote view and they can't. They got theory and I got fact. And I've been working with them for 30 years. And those mind streams hang on to emotions. And what we do when we do this mantra and with the trilling frequency, which is the frequency of the mind streams, is they release and they relax. There's also um, a formula which has zero side effects. It's called Gero Vital, that releases the mind streams. And then the other thing that releases the mind streams, and so that they let go of what they're hanging on to, your bank account, your ex-husband, your kid that went to school and you're a helicopter mom. The other thing is cannabis. Releases, relaxes, and heals the mind streams. So do we know now why it was so important to do a disinformation campaign on cannabis? I think we do. We don't want people's mind streams flowing. We want them knotted. And then you just press the button of a particular knot and the person reacts. And you got them under control. That's why they did so much. They traumatized the people in the mind control program I was in. All those traumas, it's very difficult to stay centered. So I'm going to do this. We're going to do 10 minutes. Actually, I think I'm going to do the music that has the Medusas on it, because I do have, and I will look for the link where it has the map of the United States on it, because I would like for you to look at the United States, and I would like for you to pretend the United States is a human being, like a baby, because we actually are a baby. We've had a rebirth. A rebirth or birth is traumatic. It's wonderful. We got a baby. It's horrible, the pain. So I want you to pretend like the United States is like a baby, and you're carrying it and you're soothing it. Or if that's not a good image for you, just soothe the map of the United States as you're repeating this mantra and as you are looking at the images that will be on screen with the sounds that are for healing. Okay? Okay. I feel better. And I didn't do the mantra very much. I'm still too upset. But I feel better for the little time that I did it. This is because this country is going to be enveloped in panic attacks within weeks. And panic attacks are exactly what the word says. I don't understand the logic. Your doctor says you have a panic attack, and nobody says, what is attacking me? Nobody asks that question. What, are we dumb? Are we asleep? A panic attack is exactly what they said it is, but because they can't believe in spirits, then you get left with this big hole. It's an attack by spirits. It's actually a good sign because it means you haven't given up. You're not letting them in. They're scaring you, but you haven't let them in. So having a panic attack is really a good thing, but it's intolerable. So this mantra, even though I'm afraid, I love and accept myself, in 3 minutes, you will stop feeling the panicky. You need to continue to do it. You should do it all night. You should do it anytime you get nervous. You should do whole mantra sessions with the whole rosary and just keep doing it so that any little chink in your armor of your aura gets closed, because fear, I don't know how many times they say it's in the Bible, almost 400 times they talk about fear, because fear is what takes us down. So there's your panic attack purification mantra. And this is the link to that video that I just put on, but with the map of the United States on it. So the entire time it's on, you're purifying this country. You're pouring water on it. Water's emotions, you're purifying. And the Medusas are bringing in the energy of Venus and of love and soft, which is what we need to look for in this country, soft, which is what I want to petition Trump to find within himself. That softness, that angelic part of him, in spite of everything that they did to him, and try to continue to do. Because other than that, we continue, which is what's the battle between light and dark. And we want to stop that. And we don't just want to repress it. That's what the wonderful thing about the mantras is, that they actually purify, they emote out the emotions that are the ones that are taking you down or controlling you. So we will be back here again tomorrow, and I will try to process a lot of my issues between today and tomorrow so that you don't have to hear so much about my miserable story. But I'm going to end this by saying my handler was not my lover. Got it? A lover is a choice thing. So I think everybody needs to get more clear-headed about things. And even if something is so incredibly frightened to accept that that could actually be that way, you need to be able to listen, to pay attention, to compare notes. I had a housekeeper that in the 90s, I told her all my stories. She was like my best friend at that point, a wonderful woman, and illegal immigrant. And I remember her saying to me one day that she had sat on a bus bench to catch the bus to go to wherever she was going on her day off. And she was sitting next to a medical doctor who was also on a bus bench, probably an immigrant. And she started to talk to him about my situation that I had told her without telling him who I was or whatever. And he said to her, yeah, what she's saying is absolutely possible. And that sounds right. And so she came back home and admitted that she had discussed this because she was worried about me, because it's really wild. Not for nothing, the movies that they make about these mind control programs, such as, what is the name of that series? It was the #1 series for 2 or 3 years, Stranger Things. I never saw a single episode. But it was so sweet of her. She asked questions, she observed. She didn't like what was going on, but she observed and she was like, there's something going on here. And then she asked. And that's what all of you should do. You should ask. Be open to your paradigm that was imposed on you, not really taking into consideration unusual things out of the whatever. And it certainly doesn't take into consideration all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you have not been privy to, but has been happening enough that they've done a ton of movies on them. I remember in the 90s, I used to tell people the stuff that I was remembering in therapy. And then 5 and 6 years later, they would come back to me and said, your story was in a movie. And I said, yeah, it wasn't my story, it was my history. And they would say, oh yeah, but it was in a movie. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? So I'll be back and maybe I will have processed more so that you don't have to listen to all of this, okay? Please do the mantra to harmonize emotions in the United States. We had a wonderful thing happen, okay? And let's not let emotions, which are the reason why there are catastrophes, natural catastrophes. Natural catastrophes are to balance the elements, and the elements have everything to do with emotions. So when you have most natural catastrophes, there's too much emotion going on, there's too much stuff going on, it needs to be balanced out. Let's do it in a way that's gentle as a society. And it's not religion. It's actually science of the mind, which, by the way, is a group. I remember because my stepmother used to go to that group years ago. I don't remember what it was all about, but there is a science of the mind, and has everything to do with the mind strings. Okay, thank you for listening. I'm Frances Fox, and we will see you again.